Today I didn't come to necessarily preach. I know when you hear of a minister, you hear words like God pulling, preach, and Yankee, and all these other terms. But I do hope that something is pulled out of me on this afternoon that can be imparted into you, everybody in the walls of this building. And hopefully I get loud enough to those outside so we'll hear a message of hope, a message of change, a message of understanding, peace, or whatever it is that you need at this time. And so I just had one quick observation before I even begin. And that observation was even on the honorary page of this program, as I was perusing it, I saw certain terms there for our honorary readings. I saw the term protecting, I saw building, I saw capturing, and I saw changing 3 times. The motto for East College using now is changing minds, changing lives. But my topic that I want to speak to you from today is simply, do you have a vision for victory? Because the only way those terms can be accomplished is if you have a vision for where we want to go. And I would think that everyone in the room, or everyone who's attached or connected to this college will want the vision to be that at the end of the day, that the school remains victorious. And so, as I said before, I do things a little differently when I speak. Every time I open my mouth, I'm nervous, no matter if it's a room of 2 or a room of 200. And so I have a special thing that I must do to simply calm myself down. So, with your approval, if I may.
All right.
Thank you. You are the source of my strength. You are the strength of my life. Okay. I lift my hands in total praise to you. Lord, you are the source of my strength. You are the strength of my life. I lift my hands in total praise to you. Now, I do that because instead of just having a prayer, I want to let God know and I want to let you know that I appreciate the things that people say in the Bible. I appreciate when people grab my resume and they introduce me. But one of the things that's never said is the struggle that people have to go through to get to the great things that's in the Bible. And so I have to let people know, even before I get into my spiel, that without God, I do nothing. Without God shining down on me and speaking through me, I wouldn't even be able to stand here with the courage to speak into you. And so, on today, as I said in my short speech that I'll be giving you now, I want to speak to you from the topic, do you have a vision for victory? When I think about the word vision, it automatically takes me to the book of Proverbs, where it says that without vision, the people perish. And I think about Elizabeth Evelyn Wright and how, even in which the times that she developed such a great institution, that without vision, without being able to perceive a greater future for our people, that a place called Voorhees College would not have been evident today. And so, the first thing that I must tell you is that vision is beyond necessary to get to where we want to go. Now, if I'll be honest with you, when I was a young man, I really didn't have this type of vision. But I did have people around me who would begin to press me and push me into the person that you see before you today. And so, what ended up happening to me as I tell my Voorhees College story, instead of having vision like many people who sit in the room, I ended up becoming more of a victim. And I became a victim in one of many ways. I was a victim. I always tell people that I actually was abused as a child. Now, if you look at me, you won't see any marks or bruises on me. But I was abused because my daddy didn't come when he said he was going to come. I was abused because I needed a hug from a man that I really didn't know. I was abused because I needed a word of encouragement, but this man, my father, who I bear his name, I really didn't see. He said he was coming at 6, but I still didn't see him until the 16th. And so I consider that abuse, because wrapped up in this man was my identity. And so I became a victim in that sense, but I also became a victim in the sense of, you heard it, I'm from the city of brotherly love. But how ironic is that if you go read the newspaper, this same city of brotherly love is the same place where probably right now there's a man sitting in the hospital because his next door neighbor may have stabbed or shot. It's the same city where education is going through the floor instead of through the roof. It's the same city where poverty is rashing all around. There's a statue in the city of Philadelphia. It's called the Love Statue. And it's ironic because in that same area where the love statue is, there are a bunch of homeless people who don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so I became a victim in this environment, even in the city of brotherly love. But then I really became a victim. In February of 1999, as a young man, I was stabbed by a family member. I was stabbed in my head. I was stabbed in my shoulder. I was stabbed in my back by someone who was supposed to be close to me. And when this happened, as negative as this event sounds, I found myself in a hospital room. I heard the doctors and the nurses screaming out numbers, which later I found out if they were saying no numbers or the number was 0, it means that I was no longer here. And as I lay on that cold table at Albert Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, something dawned on me for the first time in my life. There was so much more locked up in me that I didn't know how to get out of it. And the only reason that God allowed me to stay here was because it was something greater that had to happen. And so I made the decision on that day. And I forgot to tell you, I was already asked before that time to come to Voorhees College, but I respectfully declined. Because I really didn't see myself going to college. I was reminded this morning, I had probably about a stack of applications this high. And I looked at the application fee, and you know, broke was like our second cousin. And so we really didn't have money to apply. I didn't know anything about a scholarship. I didn't know anything about a waiver. And so when my mentor came to me and said, I want you to go to college, I really didn't have the vision to see. And so I declined. But as I lay there on the cold table, I made up in my mind that day that I was going to give this place called Voorhees College in rural Denmark, South Carolina, a chance. And so that was in February and August 1999. Me, my grandmother, my cousin, we set out on this road, I-95, for Denmark, South Carolina. We pulled up on campus. It wasn't what I was used to. But because I was a victim, I find solace anywhere at this moment. And the people were so nice at Voorhees College. They welcomed me in. They gave me what I needed. They spoke words of encouragement, and they knew not of my situation. And so, what ended up happening is now, for me being a victim, I was able to find value, even in the worst circumstance of my life. And then, a month later, the month of September, I got a crucial phone call from my mother, saying my father had passed away. He had a stroke at the age of 43. Found out he died from complications of HIV/AIDS. I knew nothing of all this going on. Now, I myself had to go home, deal with this death. But I stood standing over his casket, saying, it has to be more than this. Once again, I was able to find some kind of value in the most negative situation that I ever had to face in my life. And so, for those of you who even go to Voorhees that are in the room, who have been to Voorhees or who have a connection to Voorhees, I challenge you to ask the question, what is it worth to you? So when I found out what it was worth for me, and I found out that even being a victim, I had value. Now I had to make a vow. In other words, I had to make a promise to myself, to my father who was gone, to my family, to the people of my community, that I'm going to finish what I started. And that's one of the biggest problems in our community. We start things, we start projects, we start giving, we start doing things, but we never finish the race. And so, as I'm standing up here to implore you today, is to stop starting stuff just to say you did it. Stop throwing words in the air just because it sounds cute. But make a solemn vow that you're going to finish what you started. And so, like I said, I don't want to be before you long. But I do want to talk to you a little bit more about vision in Voorhees College. Because when I think about vision in Voorhees College, I have to take it one step further. I was reading the biographical sketch of Voorhees one day. And I thought about Elizabeth Evelyn Wright being so young, but having the fortitude and the vision to start this institution. But then, in a paragraph there, it talked about a man by the name of Ralph Voorhees, who's from New Jersey. It says that he is a blind philanthropist. In other words, he's a person that not only gives money, but he gives money for a cause. And here this woman was, all she had was a dream. She also was victimized as she started. She also had to find value in the most deterring situation. She also had to make a vow to her community. But she was victimized when the school was burned down. She was victimized when folks who said they would give her donations then drew their head back and changed their mind. And so I thought about this man Ralph Voorhees that was a blind philanthropist. And I asked myself the question, how is it that we have eyes and can't see? But this man was blind and was able to perceive something greater than we see with our own very eyes. Even Helen Keller made it plain when she said the only thing worse than being born blind is having sight but still having no vision. And we have to get out of that. We have to be able to see beyond what our eyes can see. And so I'm going to leave you by saying this. I've had times in my life where I've been a victim. I've had times in my life where I still had to find value despite being victimized. I've had times in my life where I made vows that I know I'm going to keep. But the one vow that I'll make sure I'll keep as it relates to Voorhees College, that I'll do everything in my power, everything that's within me, to make sure that Voorhees remains victorious. And by victorious, I don't mean because of the jobs it produced. I don't mean